What's up, guys, and welcome back to Absolutely Marvel in DC. My name's Hassan. I wanted you to say your own name. That's Dan.
You're leading it. What are you talking about?
Well, sometimes I just, it's like I feel bad. I don't want to talk over you. We're going to talk about big cancellations coming from James Gunn. James Gunn's destroying everything. He's setting the world on fire. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about us. No, I'm just kidding. That's wrong. So Doom Patrol and Titans are now confirmed to be ending. They're canceled, but they're actually given time to properly end their series. They were well informed at the beginning of this production cycle. This would be their last seasons, and they were written with finality in mind. Crazy. I've watched the first 6 episodes of Titans, and I can tell you right now, geez, they knew this was ending, and this is the plot they chose to go with. Wild. But besides the point, which those reviews will come back when that freaking show comes back. I don't know. It got 6 episodes in, and then it just didn't air another episode of it. But Doom Patrol and Titans are over, and James Gunn confirmed that it had nothing to do with him, and that decision was made prior to him.
Yep.
So, Dan, how do you feel about this entire generation of TV shows and movies and everything is over? So, like, not just the Snyderverse is over, thank God. The CW-verse is over now.
Honestly, I think it's for the best. I think the fact that they were closing down all of the CW ones, and the fact that they're doing the shows that started off on DC Universe, because that's where Titans and Doom Patrol both started prior to being moved over to HBO Max, I think it works. And I'm glad that they told them so that they can actually finish it, actually conclude and give a good send-off without getting hey, here's a massive cliffhanger that we're never going to get to. I'm glad that they're doing that, because especially with, I know all of this got confirmed prior to the James Gunn being added. So obviously that was not a factor in it, but I think it works because of the fact that we are now moving into a new era of DC entertainment when it comes to the screen. I say the screen because it's not just the big screen with movies, but it's actually shows as well as stuff like that. And I think universally kind of ending everything, because I believe we're going to have the final season of Flash coming up soon. We've got Titans and Doom Patrol ending. We've got all of these different shows ending to the point that we can actually have the MCU version, but for DC, where the movies and the shows can share the same universe, depending on what James Gunn wants to do. I don't think he's solidified anything like that. By the time this episode comes out, he might have announced everything that he needs to announce and debunk everything that I'm saying. But I think it works because it's going to put them in a more competitive with Marvel and how they're doing we've got our movies and our shows, they're interconnecting, but they are their own thing. So I think overall it's a good thing that they're doing it. I'm glad that they're doing all of these at the same time. It's not one of them's ending now, another is going to be a next year, then the next year, then the next year. They are all ending this year. Or at least this season, basically.
Which is good.
And I think that's good. I think that's going to be hopefully for the best for the DC, because it also cleanses everyone's palate. People that did not like these shows don't have to go into a show wondering, crap, are they going to do the Doom Patrol stuff that's going on in the universe? Are they going to do this
Not
Titans
one person
thing?
would have said that. Okay, they might say about the Titans thing. They would never say it about the Doom Patrol thing.
I mean, but you never know. If you watched one of the shows and you didn't enjoy it, and you know that they're in a connected universe, you're going to be hesitant to watch a new show. But when you don't have to worry about any of that, it gives that fresh feeling of, I can jump in. New viewers can go, I can jump in. I can be a part of it this time.
Great example of that is how much I love CW shows, like the superhero shows back in the day. I watched literally every single one. From the ending of Smallville, beginning of Arrow, into Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow. I didn't miss an episode of any show or any spinoff. I watched them the night they came out, and then Batwoman came out. And after watching that trailer, I stopped. I didn't watch Batwoman because it looked genuinely horrendous, and I only watched like a select few of the shows after that. Like I stopped just all encompassing because I was just tired of that. I was not happy with that interpretation. Not because I don't want to see, Batwoman on screen. I think Batwoman's awesome. I don't want to see a Batwoman that diminishes the value of a Bruce Wayne, because that I think is an integral part of that story, at least in its origin, right? You can go wherever you want to go after that, but like to have a Batwoman that's stealing Bruce Wayne's suit and saying the line, "You think I'm a man because I'm wearing a man's costume? A woman can do it better." I hated that. It really, really sucked. So, glad that that's done. I think that there's going to be a lot to miss. I know that, when you think about Doom Patrol specifically, you have Diana Guerrera, I think that's her name. She plays Crazy Jane in that show. Incredible actress.
Fantastic.
She's so fantastic. Orange is the New Black actress, and voice in Encanto. She plays Isabella in the Disney animated Oscar-winning Disney animated movie Encanto. Brendan Fraser got to come back, and we're all talking about Brendan Fraser's big redemption in media right now with The Whale and everything else, and that he's back, and they're gonna start casting him in a bunch of stuff. They are. He's been on Doom Patrol as a pretty amazing interpretation of Robot Man for years now. Like 2018, I've been watching that show, and I think it's spectacular. And there's so many more performances. Abby Shapiro is a great friend of mine. She plays Chief's daughter in that show, and she's so talented. Her sister got her big break in, I believe it's the movie Hereditary, the little girl that gets her head cut off. That's her twin sister, and she didn't get as many roles as her sister did. Her sister was thrust really far into fame, and then Abby got to show her chops, and she's really good playing like British little daughter, because she looks like a kid. She's my age. She's like 24, but she looks like a child in that show. Incredible. So we're gonna miss a lot of those performances. Titans. Titans has.
It's a show.
It's a show. It's the first time someone's put Nightwing to live action. And it's about damn time. One of the most beloved characters in comics finally got to see his live-action debut. An incredible casting for Superboy. Looks so much like the role. It's crazy. He looks just like Connor Kent, and he was great at acting it. And now they're doing a really cool thing where he's more like Lex Luthor than he's like Superman, and he's doing great at acting that. And a Diop, a wonderful interpretation of Starfire in the live-action. Like, we got some really cool. Jovian Wade from Doom Patrol, probably my favorite live-action cyborg. I prefer.
He was pretty good.
He was pretty good, and I like the prosthetic suit a lot. I thought he genuinely looked a lot.
I will say, there were some with the cyborg where it almost seemed like they didn't have enough time in makeup to fully put the suit on. That like things looked just off, but when they looked on, it did look really good.
Yeah, and there were times where like it looked kind of dumb when he'd put on like the jacket, but when he would take off the jacket, like that's what the suit looked like. And that's practical. That's all practical effects, and it looked really, really good. So there was a lot. The costuming department in Deathstroke, the costuming on the villains in Titans, crazy. If you saw Deathstroke's costume in that, it is the comic book, like the Judas Contract put on screen. It's beautiful. It's amazing. So there's plenty to miss about these shows. But I'm glad they're getting to wrap up, and I'm hoping a lot of these actors go on to do more stuff. I know Brenton Thwaites wants to be Nightwing, and I love him, and I hope he's not Nightwing. I hope he gets to play somebody for sure.
Yeah.
But he's really good at being angry, and Nightwing is not supposed to be an angry guy.
Nightwing's that was one thing that always kind of irritated me with the Titans. Was it was a great show.
Yeah.
Not like it as a Nightwing, it was too much Batman. It was not enough Dick Grayson, and because Dick Grayson's biggest aspect, in my opinion, is at least when I'm reading about him or in any of like the animated shows, is he's always got that lighthearted nature to him. He's always kind of like that light that brings everyone else up. Whereas I feel like in Titans, he definitely kind of had that.
Jason Todd-esque.
It was
guy.
more, it was definitely more of like a hybrid between Dick Grayson and Jason Todd. I think
Which is crazy because Jason Todd was a big part of that show as well.
Who was like, much more kind of like a Jason Todd, Damian Wayne.
It was a lot of the show's choices weren't great, and I think the overall narratives were always falling flat. But some of their little moments were really good. Like Minka Kelly and Alan Richardson as Hawk and Dove had two of my favorite episodes in the whole show were just focused on them and nothing else because they were so well written and so well acted. And I'm glad we got to see that interpretation of it. They had a lot of really, really fun ideas. And I don't know if we're going to get something that is that. Thankfully, like, I don't think we're ever going to get as slapstick, stupid stuff. Not to insult the shows, but just to say that, like, it was kind of fun to watch something that I know is terrible, that is still DC Comics, but is dog shit. Because sometimes that's what these shows were, and sometimes they were incredible. So, excited for the future. I like what you were saying with the whole, like, James Gunn is trying to build his competitor to Marvel, and that requires the intercutting of shows. DC, with James Gunn at the helm, because I know before, regardless of whatever lessons they've learned, they simply cannot learn a fucking lesson. They have foresight now. They have a guy who's keeping track of the lessons they're learning, and they've learned a lot. They have way more TV experience than Marvel does. Way more TV experience. So being able to take all of that and really, really gear it towards a movie/TV audience, a comic book universe audience, is going to be really interesting. And James Gunn is aware that we're in a multiverse. So, don't say goodbye to these characters forever. I fully believe that the best performances, the best characters, the best iterations will come back in a multiversal sense in some way or another.
Yep.
I'm still pretty sure old Grant Gustin's going to show up in the Flash movie, at least on some level, because why wouldn't he? I know why he wouldn't necessarily want to be in that movie with everything else going on, but
I hope they, for just on that note, the Grant Gustin, the Flash movie, I really hope they have in that movie that scene from the Flash, the show, when they met and they're like, what the hell? I kind of hoped that they were going to grab that exact scene.
Oh, just
and
pull it straight from
just
the thing?
pull it and put it straight in, because then you kind of go, oh, that's interesting because these two universes are going on at the same time, and like they're kind of weirdly running into each other with these things. And I think that would be just would have been a cool thing to do.
It would have been
I don't
awesome.
know
I think there's a piece of dialogue that messes that up, because I imagine in this one he calls himself the Flash earlier than that, because in that sequence, Grant's Flash is saying, "I'm the Flash also." He goes, "The Flash? What?"
Yeah.
The
Okay.
Flash. Oh yeah. And then that's what he decides his name is the Flash,
Right.
which is great. So maybe we'll see that. Probably we won't.
Probably not.
I'm
It'd be
sure he'll
cool,
be
though.
in something. I know Grant will. It feels crazy to do a multiversal Flash movie and not have the guy that's been Flash for a decade on there. But regardless, it's been fun to watch these shows. They ebb and flow in quality, and sometimes there's monumentally beautiful episodes in the middle of a shitstorm season, and sometimes there's incredible seasons with shitstorm episodes, because this is the death of the 22 episode superhero show. They're not going to do it anymore. They're only going to be probably animated shows that are 22 episodes. Other than that, they'll have to be split up into seasons because the bigger budget, smaller attention spans, and more shows coming out at once. So
I mean, I will say though on that, I'm kind of glad that they're going away from the 22 episodes, because let's be honest, when it truly came down to it, it wasn't 22 episodes. It was 2 parts of a season, because there was always we're going through, we got the mid-season finale. You don't call something a finale when it's in the middle of something unless it's actually a finale.
yeah. I'm watching the Talkville podcast with Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling from Smallville, and they talk about how some episodes are written to be filler. They said if we could do Smallville again, now with a 13 episode or a tight 8 episode season, we could tell a much more interesting story, because there are episodes of Smallville that got all the budget and all the writers worked on them, and they're incredible. And then you jump from that episode to an episode about Clark getting his heat vision because of boners, which is a real plot point on that show. If he gets a boner, he uses heat vision. But the quality of that diminished so because the season premiere was this tornado thing, and then it was beautiful, it's amazing. Jumped right to that. Flash had that problem. Everything else had that problem. Titans shouldn't have had that problem, but it feels like the filler writers wrote Titans. It's like the guys who they hired to write the bad episodes of the other shows just wrote all of Titans. There are parts of it I like, guys. I'm hyperbolating here. Let's, calm down. Don't crucify me in the comments, guys. But it'll be a lot of fun to live in this next era. And it's going to come before my 30s, hopefully. I'm 24. They have 6 years to put out something. I'd love to watch some of the stuff in my 20s.
Another thing I do want to say as well with the a positive of them completely ending that universe is we opened so many doors during the James Gunn verse of a Spider-Man No Way Home situation where you do go, hey, we've got the current universe, but we've got all these other universes that people have connected to that we could easily go, hey, we got Batman in this universe. What if for some reason Dick Grayson from the Titans ends up in this universe? Or what if we do get another moment of like the like all the different Supermen, but have it be more of a they're all meeting each other kind of thing? Like there's so much potential that you could do once you are creating a new universe while there are those pre-existing universes, and No Way Home showed us how amazing that could be.
It is still crazy that Marvel beat DC to the punch on the multiverse. That's crazy.
A good multiverse. I think that's a key one. A good multiverse, because the CW did the multiverse. Their problem was they didn't do an actual multiverse. They did a multiverse with themselves, and I think that's what kind of made it feel like a multiverse. They
tied it in at the end. The Crisis on Infinite Earths tied in the Keaton movies. It tied in the Birds of Prey TV show as a separate universe. It tied in Smallville as its own universe. It tied in Doom Patrol and Titans as two separate universes as well. So it did do it in a very roundabout way. It's crazy because that was before COVID, and they had planned to immediately after that have like a Superman Flash crossover. They had like a lot planned. Superman and Lois would have looked incredibly different as a show had COVID not happened, had those production cycles not happen, because I think that going forward they were kind of gunning for like one giant TV show with interconnected characters that weave throughout all of them, but COVID restrictions, filming protocols made that so much harder that they nixed that, and by the time all the nixing was done, the Warner Bros. Negotiations were done and the shows were over. So everything has to come to an end. But I'd love to. I mean, we got Tyler Hoechlin Superman fighting Brandon Routh Superman, and we had Tyler Hoechlin Superman recruiting Tom Welling Superman, but we've never gotten to see all three of them on a screen together, and that would be so fun. Throw Cavill in there if you want. He's great. He didn't get to do much, so
you got to bring Cavill back. I feel like Henry Cavill is to Superman what Tobey Maguire is to Spider-Man. I feel.
Ow! He wasn't Tobey Maguire had three Spider-Man
I'm more saying
movies.
In the sense of
fans.
They had the fan base. That's kind of what I'm going on about, of kind of like the people that watched the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man stuff. They basically became a cult following for Tobey Maguire and the Raimi films as Spider-Man, and it's very obvious that there's a group of people that have done the exact same with Superman.
We'll appease you Snyder cucks this one time, but you know what? It's because we want to see it on screen too. Because we don't hate the actors, we hate the vision of the director, or I do personally. Me, Hassan Kader, hate it. But it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see everybody on screen again. It'll be fun to see something creatively led by somebody who really loves the comics like James Gunn, somebody who is really well informed like James Gunn, somebody who doesn't want to subvert expectation for the sake of expectation subversion. Maybe he does it for the sake of plot, for character development, but he'll never do it to create injustice as the first timeline, because that's so dumb. Dan, you made it. I rounded back to hating the Snyder Bros. But we're good. That's all we really wanted to talk about today. Just kind of say, hey, James Gunn didn't cancel these shows, so don't be mad at him, but the shows are over. So be happy, rejoice. We're gonna get better shows, and cool actors will definitely come back.
Hopefully, better shows.
Hopefully, unless James Gunn gets assassinated, I think we'll be in good hands. So
we'll see.
Really crossing our fingers here. But all right, guys, I'm Hassan. That is Dan. We've been absolutely Marvel and DC. Subscribe. We're at 20,000 subscribers. We're going to keep going, building a whole absolute armada here. We'll see you guys in the comments. Bye.